Okay, back again on the Rich Fantastic channel, breaking down Sunday's Week 7 NFL action. We're going to start with the game in London again. It was the Buffalo Bills losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-31. Tyrod Taylor did not go in this game. EJ Manuel got the start. It was 24 of 42, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. LaShawn McCoy, 18 carries for 68 yards. EJ Manuel had 38 yards on 18 carries. Altogether, the team 28 carries for 115 yards. That's 4.1 yards per carry. Robert Woods was the top receiver, 9 receptions for 84 yards. Marcus Easley had a long touchdown of 58 yards. It was his only catch. EJ Manuel did lose a fumble, so he turned the ball over 3 times. Buffalo only had 2 sacks and 1 interception. It was returned for a touchdown. For Jacksonville, Blake Bortles, 13 of 29, really not very good at all. 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. TJ Yeldon had a good game, 20 carries for 115 yards. It's just shy of 6 yards per carry at 5.8. Allen Robinson, 6 catches for 98 yards and a touchdown. Allen Hurns was held in check yesterday, 2 for 53 and a touchdown. They recovered 2 fumbles and had 4 sacks. And the 2 interceptions were from Telvin Smith and Paul Posluszny, who intercepted EJ Manuel. Buffalo now drops to 3-4. Jacksonville finally getting a win that they desperately needed to show that they're improving this year. Obviously, the injuries really hurt Buffalo without Tyrod Taylor and EJ Manuel turning the ball over, and no Sammy Watkins either. So Buffalo will have to. They really can't get Tyrod Taylor back fast enough. It doesn't look like EJ Manuel can hold the position down. So, and Jacksonville, where do they go from here? Can they continue to now string some wins together and show that improvement, or are they going to keep losing tough games? Obviously, Blake Bortles did not play well yesterday, so you got to wonder how much of it is an improvement or how much did Buffalo really give the game away. So we'll just see how that goes for the rest of the season. But obviously, for Buffalo, the biggest issue is getting their players back because they really are just not getting the job done, especially without Tyrod Taylor. All right. The Falcons were able to defeat the Titans 10-7. The Titans have now lost 5 straight games since their Week 1 win. Atlanta not very impressive, only 10 points. Matt Ryan was 22 of 38, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Devontae Freeman 25 for 116, 4.6 yards per carry. He continues to impress, and he's looking more and more like the offensive rookie of the year. Julio Jones 9 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown, so a good game, but considering how well he was playing early in the season, those numbers are fairly pedestrian. Mike Pearson fumbled the ball. It was not lost. They only had 1 sack and 2 interceptions. For the Titans, Zach Mettenberger, who got the start for the injured Marcus Mariota, 22 of 35, 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Antonio Andrews was their top runner, 10 for 57. Dexter McCluster, 5 for 20, overall 16 for 77, just 4.8 yards per carry. I don't know why they abandoned the run, considering Atlanta only had 10 points. It's not like at any point Atlanta was running away with this game. Zach Mettenberg fumbled, did not lose it. They did not have a sack, and they picked off Matt Ryan twice. So Tennessee, obviously, what's going to happen? They're just going to look to develop Marcus Mariota this season. It doesn't look like this team is very good as we would have expected. Atlanta looks like they're coming back a little bit. I wasn't expecting the team to be as good as they got off to a start. I think a couple wins early in the year really helped them, and things got rolling for them. They're still, on course now. They are 6-1, but it's just showing that this team probably wasn't as good as their original start. And it's just one of those cases where you can get off to a hot start and start winning some games, and that really lets you get rolling for the rest of the year. So, but they certainly struggled last night. The Redskins had a big comeback to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers continue to lose games and aren't looking like they're on the road to improvement as I thought they would be. Jameis Winston was 21 of 29, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, did not turn the ball over. Doug Martin, very impressive, 19 for 136, which is 7.2 yards per carry. Charles Sims, 10 for 49, which is 4.9 yards per carry. Overall, 30 for 190 and 6.3. So you wonder with a big lead when they were up 24-0 and you're running the ball that well, how you don't hold on to that lead. Mike Evans had a monster game, 8 for 164 and a touchdown. They lost a fumble. Charles Sims lost one. Only 1 sack and no interceptions. For the Redskins, Kirk Cousins 33 of 40, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Matt Jones 9 for 29. Kirk Cousins 3 for 15. Alfred Morris 6 for 5. Overall 19 carries for 50 yards, only 1 touchdown. That's 2.6 yards per carry. But obviously when you're down, you're going to abandon the run. So that's clearly what happened. Jordan Reed was a top receiver, 11 catches, 72 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Pierre Garcon 5 for 55. Ryan Grant had 3 receptions for 54 yards and 1 touchdown. Kirk Cousins lost a fumble, so there was his turnover. They only had 1 sack, and they did not have any interceptions. Tampa Bay, again, we were expecting them to show a bit more improvement as we were with Jacksonville. You lose games like this, certainly that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. Jameis Winston didn't turn the ball over, so that really helps them. That helps his improvement there greatly. As for Washington, again, the inconsistencies that's been happening throughout the regular season just shows again in this game that they play. They are hit and miss at times. So this is what you're going to get: wild games, a wild season. So they're going to continue to look to improve their consistency the rest of the year. That'll be the next step for them. The Saints beat the Colts at home. So the Saints now 3-4 after that 0-3 start. They're really starting to try to fight their way back into it. Drew Brees was 28 for 44, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Mark Ingram had a very good game, 14 carries, 143 yards. That's 10.2 yards per carry and a touchdown. Overall, they were 36 for 183, which is only 5.1 yards per carry. So the rest of the guys weren't really doing much. Kyrie Robinson did have 2 touchdowns, but he was only 14 carries for 28 yards. Brandon Cooks 6 for 81, and the receiving department, Benjamin Watkins continues to be a solid presence at the tight end spot, 4 for 59. They fumbled once but did not lose it. 4 sacks and 2 interceptions. So the Colts, Andrew Luck got back to his turnover ways, 23 of 44, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Frank Gore 9 for 43, so they weren't letting him run enough, but they were down, so you have to throw. Overall 13 for 75. Andrew Luck had 3 carries for 27 yards though, so that inflates those numbers just a bit. T.Y. Hilton very good, 4 receptions, 150 yards. That's 37.5 yards per catch and 2 touchdowns, so he was explosive. They fumbled 3 times. They were all Griff Whalen's fumbles, so he had clearly had fumbleitis. They only lost 1. Only 2 sacks, and they did have 1 interception. So New Orleans trying to fight their way back into it. Obviously, if Mark Ingram can keep running the ball like that, they're really going to be competitive the rest of the way. Because of Drew Brees' injury, you'd like to see them run the ball more, and he can pick his spots. As far as Indianapolis, well, they're back on the losing train again. The turnovers are happening. We were expecting a little more out of them this year, but they still play in that weak division, so they can look to turn it around at any time. But the turnovers have got to stop. I'd like to see Frank Gore get more involved in the run game. I think that'll really help them immensely. The Vikings won a big game on the road. Didn't have a letdown against the Detroit Lions. They won 28-19. Teddy Bridgewater was allowed to play in this game. 25 of 35, 316 yards, 2 touchdowns to no interceptions. Very good game for him. Adrian Peterson was sick. His numbers were 19 carries for 98 yards, so even sick, the guy's putting up 5 yards per carry. Yeah, he really was sick. Adrian Peterson's sick every week, but sick in a good way, obviously, for those of you who can't catch that sarcasm. Overall, 35 for 140, 4 yards per carry for the entire team rushing. Stephon Diggs was the top receiver, 6 for 108 and touchdown. Mike Wallace only 4 receptions for 36 yards. He's really got to get his season going again. Teddy Bridgewater did fumble twice, only lost 1 of them. They had 7 sacks, so a lot of turnovers and sacks for Detroit this whole season. They're really struggling. Cordell Patterson was good in the kick return game, averaging almost 30 yards per return, and his longest was only 30, so he had 4 receptions for 107 yards, which is 26.8 per return, with his longest being 30. That shows he was very much consistent most of the game. No interceptions for Minnesota, which is surprising because Matt Stafford likes to turn it over. As for Matt Stafford, 18 of 26, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception. Amir Abdullah, the top running back, 8 for 43, 5 yards per carry. 5.4 yards per carry actually. Overall 17 for 77, 4.5 yards per carry. When you're getting sacked that much and you have a tendency to turn the ball over, and you're running the ball at over 4 yards per clip, you'd expect to see more running, but something's not right with Detroit this year. Eric Ebron, 5 for 89 in the receiving department. Calvin Johnson, 5 for 86. Both had a touchdown. Stephen Tulloch recovered a fumble. Only 4 sacks, so a lot of sacks in this game. Actually, 4 sacks is pretty good. Amir Abdullah, 3 for 79. That's the kick return. So a lot of kicks were being returned in Detroit indoors. You expect a lot more touchbacks. So he was at 26.3 yards per carry, and his longest was only 31. So don't know what was going on in the kicking department, but you obviously won't see those numbers. No interceptions for Detroit. Minnesota, we talked about it. They did not have a letdown. That's very impressive. They continue to roll, trying to keep pace with the Packers. Most likely cannot catch the Packers for that division, but certainly can stay competitive in the long card. Detroit now drops again, and they're really in a bad way. Just really not a good season for Detroit after they were very impressive last year going to the playoffs. The Steelers should have known they'd come out and get one against the Chiefs, 23-13. Landry Jones got the start for Pittsburgh, 16 for 29, 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Le'Veon Bell was very good running the ball, 17 for 121, 7.1 yards per carry. Antonio Brown, 6 for 124 in the receiving department. Landry Jones lost the fumble. They had 2 sacks, no interceptions. Another guy, Dry Archer, the return for Pittsburgh, was 4 receptions, 4 returns for 116 yards. I'm surprised there are a lot of returns. I guess maybe the weather's starting to get cold. It's allowing the ball to be returned more. Ever since they moved the kickoff to the 35, it's been tough for guys to get returns in the league. Alex Smith, impressive, 21 to 32, 251, 1 touchdown. Charcandrick West, 22 carries, 110 yards. That's right at 5 yards per carry exactly, 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce again shows that he's Alex Smith's favorite target, the tight end, 5 receptions, 73 yards. Albert Wilson, 3 receptions for 71 yards. Chris Conley, 6 for 63. Kansas City, 2 sacks and 2 interceptions. So Pittsburgh, you would expect that with the 3rd string quarterback going, Landry Jones. Kansas City was due for a win, so it happened. Who knows how much they can turn their season around at this point. I'm sure Ben Roethlisberger will be back shortly, and Pittsburgh don't want to give too many games away because they are chasing the Bengals in that division. But we'll have to see how long it is before Ben Roethlisberger's back. I expect it to be relatively soon. The Rams handed it to the Browns yesterday, 24-6. 2 bad teams. St. Louis continues to be inconsistent. Josh McCown was 26 of 32, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Actually, Johnny Manziel did come in at one point because of an injury. He went 4 for 5 for 27 yards. Robert Turbin, 5 carries for 30 yards, overall 24 for 82. So I'm surprised they ran the ball that much considering they were down most of the game. Gary Barnidge, 6 receptions, 101 yards. Duke Johnson Jr., 7 receptions for 73 yards out of the backfield. Travis Benjamin held in check, 4 for 47. Cleveland lost 4 fumbles. That's just not good enough by any means. And only 2 sacks, no interceptions, so they were terrible in the turnover and sack department. Going to get you beat most games. Nick Foles, 15 for 23, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Todd Gurley continues to impress. 19 for 128, 6.7 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, so he's clearly back from his knee injury. A lot of teams are going to regret passing on Todd Gurley. Tavon Austin, 4 for 43 receiving the ball. He was their top receiver, so they weren't throwing the ball very much. And when Todd Gurley's running the ball like that, you don't have to, especially with Nick Foles. You don't want him turning the ball over. They obviously recovered those 4 fumbles, 4 sacks, no interceptions. So the inconsistent St. Louis Rams still competitive in that division. Depending on what happens tonight with Arizona, the Rams are now, or the Rams they're 3-3 because they're off the bye week, so they're right in it. Despite the inconsistencies, especially if Arizona cannot win tonight, we'll see what happens. Cleveland just not a good team, and they haven't, stop me if you've heard that one before. I don't know what to say about that. The Dolphins are now 2-0 under Dan Campbell. They bludgeoned the Houston Texans, who are not playing well, 44-26. Brian Hoyer again the start, 23 of 49, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Arian Foster, 18 carries for 59 yards, 3.3 per carry, 1 touchdown. He did tear his Achilles. He will be out for the rest of the year. Nate Washington, 9 receptions, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Hopkins only 6 for 50. So Miami clearly game planned against DeAndre Hopkins, who's been having a good year. They did fumble 3 times, but did not lose any of them. 4 sacks, no interceptions. For the Dolphins, Ryan Tannehill, 18 of 19, 282 yards, 4 touchdowns, so that's about as good as he gets. Lamar Miller, 14 for 175, that's 12.5 yards per carry and a touchdown, another monster running game. Altogether, 35 for 248, that's why Ryan Tannehill only threw the ball 19 times. So, 7.1 yards per carry, and that's 1 touchdown, and that 7.1 includes the -2 yards on 3 carries when Matt Moore came in and nailed the ball, so they were running the ball really good. Jarvis Landry, 5 for 83, receiving, 2 touchdowns. Rashard Matthews, 3 for 75 and a touchdown. Lamar Miller was very impressive receiving the ball as well, 3 for 61 and a touchdown. They lost 1 fumble, had 4 sacks, and 1 interception. So Miami now 2-0 under Dan Campbell. They're looking to get rolling. They have a Thursday night game against New England, so we'll see if they can keep this up. And Houston, what can you say? Just not a good year. This defense clearly is not what I expected it to be. And I'll be the first to admit I was terribly wrong with that one. But what can you do? You look at that pass rush and you wonder why they're struggling so much. Who knows? New England stays unbeaten. They move to 6-0, beating the Jets 30-23. For the Jets, Ryan Fitzpatrick 22 of 39, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chris Ivory 17 of 41, Ryan Fitzpatrick 5 for 29, altogether 29 of 89 in the run department. That's 3.1 yards per carry. Eric Decker 6 for 94 receiving wise. Brandon Marshall 4 for 67. Fitzpatrick lost the fumble, so there was that turnover we talked about. He's prone to. 3 sacks for the Jets, no interceptions. For New England, Tom Brady threw the ball 54 times, 34 of 54, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was their top runner, 4 for 15. A lot was made in this game. They were not running the ball at all. James White 2 for 4, like Garrett Blunt 3 carries for -3 yards. So overall 9 carries for 16 yards, 1.8 yards per carry, and the touchdown, which Tom Brady had. So the Jets have really got to be kicking themselves that they held New England that running game and lost. Rob Gronkowski 11 for 108 receiving and a touchdown. Danny Amendola 8 for 86 and a touchdown. Julian Edelman held in check relatively 5 for 54. Tom Brady fumbled but did not lose it. Dante Hightower recovered the Jets fumble. Only 2 sacks and no interceptions. The Jets, Brandon Marshall had a drop touchdown in this game. They were competitive. They played well. But a couple of the mistakes, the Ryan Fitzpatrick fumble and the drop touchdown, really did them in. New England now 6-0. We'll see how long they stay undefeated. I would expect that they're going to due for a loss soon. We'll see how that goes from here on out. But again, playing very well, and you don't run the ball hardly at all, and you can still find a way to win a game against a tough Jets defense. It's very impressive. The Raiders in a wild one, 37-29. They got up big, and San Diego stormed back but could not finish it off. For the visiting Raiders, 24-31. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions for Derek Carr, the quarterback. Latavius Murray, 15 carries, 85 yards. So again, over 5 yards per carry. He's been playing better of this season. Obviously can't maintain that 5 yards per carry he had last year over the amount of carries they're expecting from him this year. But he's playing well. He's getting the job done. Amari Cooper, 5 for 133 and a touchdown. Very good. 6 for 63 for Michael Crabtree and a touchdown. So Derek Carr was finding his targets. No fumbles. They did have only 1 sack and no interceptions. Oh, wait. Oh, excuse me. They had 2 interceptions. Malcolm Smith and DJ Hayden. DJ Hayden, the cornerback, with a lot of promise, showing that right there. Phillip Rivers, again, throwing the ball a ton in this game. 38 for 58, 336 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Brandon Oliver 9 for 35. Melvin Gordon 7 for 29 running the ball. Overall 21 for 90. So obviously Ty Gurley is looking like the better of the running backs over Melvin Gordon. Keenan Allen 9 for 89 receiving. Danny Woodhead 11 for 75 and 2 touchdowns. Malcolm Floyd only 1 for 7. And I don't know if Antonio Gates was out or he just didn't have a catch, but there were no catches, so I'm guessing he didn't play this game, but I didn't see anything. They did not lose their fumble, only 1 sack, no interceptions, so they lost in the turnover department. Oakland now moves to 3-3, so they're trying to stay competitive, stay close to Denver. As far as San Diego, they're falling fast. Especially the way Denver's playing, they're not showing to lose. San Diego is 2-5, so a lot of tough losses for San Diego, and it looks like the season's getting away from them. Frankly, I was expecting more out of this whole division. I was expecting Denver to be a bit closer, but Oakland, trying to stay competitive again. We had them in the playoffs, so we'll see how long they can keep it up. The Giants beat the Cowboys 27-20. The turnover is the issue for the Cowboys. Matt Castle got the start, 17-27, 227 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Darren McFadden was very good, 29 of 152. Overall, the Cowboys ran the ball 41 times for 233 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, and they lost the game. So that's really got to be disappointing. The season looks to be on the brink for the Cowboys. Jason Witten 6 for 73 receiving. Terrence Williams 4 for 70. He finally showed up. The receivers started getting involved. Cole Beasley had that costly fumble. They only had 2 sacks, no interceptions. The Cowboys still struggle to get turnovers. Eli Manning 13 of 24, 170 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Shane Vereen 4 for 56. No touchdowns. Orleans Darkwa 8 for 48. So overall, 25 for 132, running the ball, 5.3 yards per carry for the Giants. Ruben Randall 2 for 68. Odell Beckham Jr. held in check 4 for 35. Miles White recovered the Cole Beasley fumble. They only had 1 sack. And Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, very good game, 2 touchdowns, 70 yards off of returns, and obviously that 1 touchdown. Dwayne Harris had 3 returns for 149 yards. That's 49.7 yards per return, just shy of 50. He added that 100-yard return, but 2 other carries for 49 yards is fairly impressive. That's what cost the Cowboys the return touchdown and the kick return touchdown, the interception return touchdown, along with the turnovers. There was a call very early in this game, a screen pass that was taken back. It was one of the worst calls probably in the NFL this season. Devin Street was called for offensive pass interference. He wasn't blocking. He couldn't have played the ball any better. It cost the Cowboys 4 points. They had to settle for a field goal instead of a touchdown. Now, you turn the ball over 3 times. That call was in the first half. All the turnovers came in the second half. How much does it affect the game? Still, you take 4 points off the board, and that's still 4 points off the board. And the Cowboys ended up having to go for it at one point instead of being able to kick a field goal late in the game. I think it changed the how the Cowboys called their offense in the second half. Obviously, not having a 7-point lead in a 3-point game. Again, you turn the ball over 4 times. It's tough to complain, but that was a horrific call. There was a note by Mike Pereira, the Fox is officiating guru, as you would say, who said they were making an emphasis of those calls. I would like, I don't like seeing any bad calls. I think they let the offense get away with way too much as is. I'd like to see an emphasis on pick plays, and as well, if guys are blocking downfield, make the emphasis. It was just not the case in this situation. Devin Street, who was called for it, weighted perfectly. He couldn't have timed it any better. So, the Cowboys playing shorthanded, you would think that they don't need any of those breaks. Where are they going to go from here? They have Seattle. It's really looking bleak for the Cowboys. Things are just getting away from them this year. They can't get turnovers, so a lot of problems. And the Panthers moved to 6-0 as they beat the Philadelphia Eagles 27-16. I thought the Panthers would do for a loss and Philly would keep rolling. Sam Bradford 26 of 46, 205 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns. Ryan Matthews 6 for 97 running the ball. DeMarco Murray 18 for 65, altogether 30 for 177 and a touchdown. Zach Ertz was the top receiver, 5 for 63. Miles Austin 4 for 52. Sam Bradford lost the fumble but did not lose it. only 1 sack for that very good Philly defensive line. 3 interceptions of Cam Newton. Byron Maxwell finally getting one. As for Carolina, again, finding a way to win. Cam Newton, not impressive again, but he's winning games. 14 of 24, 197 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Jonathan Stewart running the ball very well, 24 from 125, 5.2 yards per carry. Greg Olsen, again, as you would expect, a top receiver, 3 for 65. Ted Ginn Jr., 5 for 59. No fumbles, none lost or recovered. They did have 5 sacks, so that helps, and 1 interception, trying to balance out the turnover differential. Philly drops to 3-4 off of 2 wins. I would have thought they would keep rolling, but Sam Bradford clearly is not a consistent quarterback. And Cam Newton, again, we discussed it, finding ways to win. You look at his numbers and be like, they're really not good at all, but you have to consider him for MVP because this team is winning, and that's just what Cam Newton does. He's a winner in this league, and he will continue to do so. Alright, so that's it for the Sunday's recap. We're going to take just a few minutes here and then give you the preview of tonight's Monday Night Football game between the Arizona Cardinals and the Baltimore Ravens. The 4-2 Cardinals at home against the 1-5 Baltimore Ravens. So stay tuned just for that. Or for that in just 1 minute. Thank you.